This clip is brought to you by Vivo Barefoot Shoes. Not only do these shoes look good, they perform even better. Enjoy this clip.
I want to know about this darkness retreat.
Mm-hmm.
What was going on with that?
Yeah. So I wrote a book called The Align Method that came out originally like 3 years ago. And then there was a revised version that came out like a year ago. In that book, one of the chapters is about vision and the way that your vision affects, it's like it's like a toggle for your physiology. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of like we were talking about, like looking up makes you feel a different way than looking down, looking left, looking right, going into panoramic vision. Like Andrew Huberman he's probably like the godfather of this, at least in popularizing a lot of this research. So if we're stressed out, we're going to probably get a little bit more myopic and focused on the task. If we're just chilling, we're going to go into that panoramic vision, relax the eyes. In that chapter and doing research for that, which Andrew Huberman actually helped with that chapter and like revising, which I'm immensely grateful for. One of the things was like, oh, interesting. It's all about like vision and light and circadian rhythms and stuff. What about no light? And so in that we included this thing called darkness retreat. And so in they brought it back, I think, pretty much originally in the Czech Republic was kind of like the big bring back of it. It's originally a Buddhist thing. They do it in Colombia. A tribe called the Kogi people do it through childhood for like a while. It's like a big part of their childhood.
What do you mean a while, real quick?
I've heard that it's 8 years, and they come out. They come out. They just don't go out in the sun.
That's some Bane type shit right there.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. I've heard that. I don't quote me on that. I'm not confirm that. I need to like meet some Kogis and be like, come on, son, like 8 years, like bro. Yeah. But yeah, they're very much like that tribe. I think a big part of and I don't know a lot about the Kogi people. But a big part of their thing is like spiritual transcendence and stuff like that. It's like a part of their culture and like the dream state. So we put a lot of energy into the waking state.
Yeah.
Waking state is kind of just another dream. It's just a waking dream. And then there's the dream state, which is what we collectively like, aha, cool, that's just a dream. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, like the world is a bunch of waves and particles and frequencies going into our eyes. And then we're flipping the image upside down and it's going through this processing chip. And it's just particles and waves. It's not that we tie the meaning onto it based off of the story that we tell ourselves about it. Yeah. And ultimately, it's the difference between sleeping and waking, like who knows? Maybe this is kind of an interesting idea. The idea that like perhaps this, have you guys ever thought about this of when you have a dream, it feels like it's forever.
Yes.
And the idea of like, maybe what we're doing right now is just a big, like you're going to wake up from this thing at some point.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's like Kogi stuff. They're like, yeah, like let's lean into that part. But so in that chapter, we wrote about that. The suggestion is that by being in a dark room with yourself for a while, essentially deep parts of your mental, emotional self will start to surface. You naturally address them because you have no other option but to allow them to come out, and ends up looking like maybe screaming, maybe kicking, punching, maybe meditating, maybe yawning, maybe crying, maybe like the whole plethora of different possible human expressions.
Yeah.
And you just feel shit come up. It's very strange. If you've ever done like have you guys done any like long meditations, like Vipassana or anything like that? You're like just sitting with yourself for like an hour or something?
I haven't done an hour. I've like done most 25 minutes.
Okay. I mean, you get it with running, too, but just like being with yourself.
Yeah.
Sit in an airport, you got nothing to do. You're just like, oh. Mm-hmm. So that times take away all of the light, all of the possible, avoidance strategies of cool, look at my phone and do whatever. Mm-hmm. And those little anxieties or discomforts or compulsive patterns of like, oh, I want to do that. Take that off the table. The suggestion is that allows these like deep held, neurotic patterns in yourself to start to surface and come out. And their suggestion is that like, heals a lot of strange, random, mysterious things. People come in for all sorts of conditions and they come out and with resolution very often. I'm not saying that in a scientific way. That's just the anecdotal experience of a lot of people.
What are some interesting anecdotes that you've like seen or heard?
Well, I think the big thing would just be like things like the more apparent ones would be like chronic anxiety, depression, things like that. And there's some other stuff. I don't know any specific anecdotes to be able to share, but those like misalignments of the mind, where you're compulsively are going through these thought loops and feeling loops. If you're with it, if you just sit with it, typically, and this is a very Buddhist perspective as well. In Buddhism, they call this the samskara is a term for, it literally translates to impression. And so at some point in a person's life, we've all had them, you have some quote unquote traumatic experience happen. Trauma would just be, to put definition onto like a very nebulous word that gets thrown around, you could say trauma is just something that, some event that happened that you didn't have the resources to be able to process. So instead of actually like allowing, like be with the thing, make reason of it, move through it, you just kind of like repress it, stuff it down. So that'd be like, that from a Buddhist perspective would be like an imprint in your body. This event that happened was so hard, but you didn't feel maybe like safe enough. It wasn't the right environment. So you're just like, okay, I'm just going to like not deal with this.
Didn't work it out.
Yeah. So, I felt like I needed to cry. I felt like I needed to scream. And you're just like, yeah, you'd like put it in. That,
not me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the suggestion is, and a lot of this stuff is kind of hard to describe, but I'm like, I think this is about, this is about the best I can do at describing it. But they stay almost like a physiological, mental, emotional imprint, and you carry it. It starts to affect the way that you make decisions, affect the way that you, and just like your behavior, your relationships, why you do the things that you do. Could be how many people have done a thing where they were really shamed when they were 10 years old because they got beat up by the bully. Now suddenly they're like a black belt in jujitsu and they drive like a murdered out car or whatever, and they're just like, never again. And they're still angry. It's like, bro, you were 10. Like, let it go. So the suggestion from that philosophy, and I think there is a lot of legitimacy to this, but it's just hard, how like science is, like science has to catch up in a way. But the suggestion is if you be with those things instead of do the avoidant pattern to kind of like get out of that sensation, then it's essentially like that anxiety or the uncomfortable sensation is literally that imprint of that experience trying to surface in a way and like get out. And if you just sit with it for long enough, the suggestion from those traditions would be that it will actually be able to move through and out of the body, and you can feel more at peace essentially.
What's the darkness retreat like? You go into like a
That's weird.
dark room or something? Or,
Yeah, so
and for how long?
So the one that I did was 5 nights and 4 days. So it was 108 hours, which is kind of like a funny number. And essentially it's like just a bed, a little yoga mat, a little like meditation cushion thing, a bathtub, which is very nice. And then like a very small little like cubicle of a bathroom. And you go in and you have like, you blow out the little candle at night, and then you're like, poof, like we're in. Like, okay, like what have I done? Like this doesn't, I don't think I really am that excited about being here anymore, was my experience. And then you just fucking sit with yourself.
Do they bring you food?
Yeah, once a day. Yeah,
Once
every day
a day.
around like 5 o'clock.
So like
Place
what
called
do they-
Sky Cave Retreats, Oregon, Ashland.
Sky Cave retreats. So what happens? Like, do they knock on your door and say, you close your eyes, whatever, you put a blindfold on, they come in, put your food in, or like, how's that work?
Yeah, so it's like a box of sorts, and so he can open up one side of the box, drop the food
Like
for
in
the
prison.
whole day in there, and then close the box, and then you can open it up, and you won't get light that comes in.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird thing, man. But it's one of those things that for me, it felt like kind of like a rite of passage in a way,
Okay.
which is something that's very common in a lot of cultures.
Mhm.
You could go to there's a tribe in the could you look up actually rite of passage hand in glove with
yeah.
fire ant.
I've seen
I've heard of it.
Yeah. So that's I don't know what tribe it's from exactly. But there's endless there's like this like the Sundance, where you like you starve yourself and you're hung by a tree, and it's I think it's like a 3 days or so, I believe is how long that is. There's a lot of different examples of rites of passage that young, typically men, go through.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of the reason that I did a lot of the kind of like effed up things that I did as a kid, just like a lot of like vandalization and, just stupid stuff, getting way drunker than was necessary. Here it is. These are the guys.
Yeah, I can't pronounce the name, but
What, he's got his hands in there?
it's a glove full of venomous fire ants.
Yeah. And so
It's a rite of passage.
So this is a lot like, I think the sensation of like, oh, like I can't take it, I want to get out of here, is a lot like a person that's going through like deep anxiety or deep depression, and it's just like, okay, just be with it, keep being with it, and that's what they're, again, I'm not a Amazonian fire ant rite of passage guy, but I think that's kind of a part of it. Then you get through, typically with rites of passages, what it is pushing a person to the point of feeling like they're going to die. And typically there's like, actually a chance that it might happen. So it's real.
5 hours.
And then on the other side of that it's kind of like V for Vendetta, when he's with whatever the girl's name is. She like, buzzes her hair and he's like doing all the different kind of mind stuff to her. And she's finally gets to a point where she's like, kill me. I don't care. Just fucking kill. Like, I'm not attached to this body anymore. Like, I'm good. And he's like, okay, you may leave. And so that's, I think, what these rites of passages are largely is like, it's a practice of dying before you die so that you can actually, it sounds like overly poetic and kind of wanky, but like actually live, compared to being a slave to the body or slave to the mind. I don't know if this is like getting a little too heady, but I think that's
interesting.
That's kind of the way it is.
And it says according to a Google search, the Kogi tribe has selected male children that are taken from birth put into a dark cave for the first 9 years.
Yeah, it's 9 years.
Jeez.
Oh, can you pull up some pictures of them? I do wonder if they're put into a cave for 9 years. What are their complexions like? There's the Kogi tribe in is it somewhere in Africa? Somewhere in where is it?
That's Colombia.
Colombia.
Yeah.
I do wonder like what they look like. That's
They
interesting.
look like
Yeah, the Buddhist tradition, I think, is 48 days, which that's the 48 or 49 days. But 49 days is the amount of time that the Buddha was said to sit under the tree to achieve enlightenment, whatever the tree was.
Well, what did you learn from about
different.
yourself after that 5 nights, 4 days?
And it was really recent. So do you think like maybe like 2 years from now, you'll have learned a lot more about it?
Probably. Yeah, I'm in like some shit right now. Like there's like a lot of,
Because we had to reschedule because you're like, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's a good idea for me to come
dude,
from
I
that right
was
to this.
crying afterwards. It wouldn't have been good, honestly.
I would have held you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I was weepy. It was like it really tapped into some parts of myself that I had. Like one of the images that I had, for example, in there was envisioning my parents holding, and hopefully this relates to other people in some capacity, or wouldn't be sharing it, but my parents holding my baby version of myself, which I don't have any like actual memories of, but I was just like reproducing the memory, which you could argue that's whatever memory is anyway. And so I was in that position and I was just experiencing how much my parents loved me. And like, I'm just like, wow, I'm like this, like that. I'm the most precious thing in their lives. Like, and started to feel that sensation of feeling just like just that depth of love and acceptance. And, like, wow, like I'm like, it's a fucking miracle, man. And like, feel like that feeling of connection, whereas a lot of people, I think they could even have had a childhood that felt like, oh, my parents were great. Typically there's a lot of defense around parents. At least that's what I've experienced myself.
Yeah.
Like, no, my mom, she loved me, but like your parents can only love you to the degree that they're able to love. And you as
what they were taught, yeah.
Yeah. And you as a baby, you are just a sensitive sponge. And we can talk ourselves in circles of who we are and who we think we are. And we have these agreements of who we are. And I'll agree that you are who you are. And you agree that I am who I am. Ram Dass calls it like a conspiracy. He says, I'll agree you are who you think you are. If you agree, I am who I think I am. And we'll just run that game for a while.
Yeah.
But as a baby, you just pick up on on what's happening at a physical level, at like an enteric, which is a fancy word for saying organ, like visceral level.
Enteric?
Enteric, yeah, the enteric nervous system. That's like the nervous system, the guts. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So as a child, you're picking up tone, which there's a lot of information imprinted in the tone of someone's voice.
Mm-hmm.
So I can tell you like, yeah, I'm fine, bro. Like I'm totally good. We're good. Or you could hear my voice cracking as I'm saying that, or maybe like more high pitch, or maybe I'm looking away from you, or like all of the different things. It's like, okay, cool. Your word said I'm fine, bro, but that doesn't mean anything. I'm fine, bro. Isn't I'm fine, bro. Isn't I'm fine, bro. I'm fine, bro is like, what is your tone saying? What's the pacing of your language saying? What's the dilation of your pupils saying? What are all of these physical like affects? Like that's the real shit. That's what a baby listens to. That's what we listen to too. We just sometimes can trick ourselves with words
Or text
and
messages.
stories. Texts are tough, dude.
Okay.
Never did that happen before.
Right?
Just one word.
Fine.
Fine. I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Yeah, texts are messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, emojis are valuable.
Emojis. are
Hieroglyphics.
Yeah, I think emojis are like the closest thing to facial affect. Because you can say some words and then you throw an emoji after that. You're like, oh yeah, I get it. Like, cool.
crying
Like
face.
we're good.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah.
Little eggplant.
Hey guys, if you like this clip, go ahead and comment down below and let us know what you liked about it. All right. Share this with a friend. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. And also, we are on Reddit and Discord. All that's down below. All our sponsors and everyone that supports us down below there too. So you can get whatever you like from us. All right. Peace.